Hello, everybody. Welcome. You are listening to the Behind the Fic podcast, a podcast that interviews fanfic writers and features readings of their works, which they read themselves, which is really cool. My name is Fate, and that's short for the username fatefulfaerie. I write a lot of fan fiction, probably too much, and I'm the not really mastermind, not really host, but I'm just kind of here. I'm the co-host. Joining me, Kip, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, you kind of did it for me, but okay.
Yes.
I am Kip from sarcasticmudkip on Tumblr, and I also write stuff. Granted that we are on this writing podcast, so I'm sure that's a shocker. Uh, you and yeah, that's all I gotta say. How about
Yeah.
let's
And we have a guest today.
Yeah, Bella.
Wanna introduce yourself? There we go.
I'm Bella. I go by aurathian on Tumblr, and I've been writing Zelda fan fiction for 5 years.
Oh, damn. I mean, wait, are we allowed to? Wait, you said dang. I mean,
It's a little slip up. It makes it seem more real to the
we
audience.
are family
they'll smile.
friendly.
People are smiling now. See, there we go. We made people smile. So Bella, you're going to read an excerpt from your fic, a one shot called Of Memories.
Memories.
Very good. Before we have you read that, I'm going to say that obviously she's just reading an excerpt, so if
should we probably summarize it a little bit first so there's context for it?
Well, one second. I'm actually going to say that if you haven't read it yet, I would suggest going ahead and reading it after the because we'll read it out loud, only an excerpt, but then after she reads the excerpt, we're going to be discussing the entire length of the work. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then I would suggest you go and read that. The link will be in the bio. But if not, if you just want to hear us talk about some work and you've pretty much got a good amount of context from the excerpt, then that's okay too. I don't believe there are any trigger warnings. Bella, I don't remember there being anything really.
No,
One
I don't
implied NSFW, but it wasn't that much.
Yeah, but that's not in the
and it's not even in the thing. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, so little bit of making out.
Spicy.
It's a little interesting, you know. So Bella, take it away.
Take it away.
Mistakes are gonna happen. It's okay. We all love you. You're all gonna make people smile when you make mistakes. It makes us seem more real.
Way to have the vote of confidence for our very
Thank you, Fate. Okay. It was raining hard, and she was dancing in it. She was twirling and hopping and running in the rain, laughing and smiling, and she looked divine when she was drenched, but he looked away when she caught him staring. "Come join me," she called to him, but he only lowered his gaze to the muddy ground and crossed his arms. She huffed and marched over, taking a firm hold of his arm and dragging him out in front of the stable into the pouring rain. He stood awkwardly still while she frolicked, and after a minute she stopped to look at him. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," he answered. "Doesn't it feel so good?" she asked, and her voice was foggy and muffled through the harsh weather. It sounded like one of his memories, where everything was a little blurry and nothing quite made sense, except this time it was real, and he was real, and so was she, and he knew her. "It's a little chilly." "I suppose it's different for you," she mused. "I haven't felt rain in 100 years. 100 damn years." In spite of his indifference and confusion to her, a rage still pooled inside him, mad at the beast that had stolen away 100 years of her life, mad at the beast he had defeated but wanted to kill again, mad at the beast that had taken everything from him. She twirled and hummed thoughtfully. "You are much more talkative than before," she observed. "Not by much, though." "People change," Link said. "I suppose they do," she agreed, "but I know why you changed." And he knew, too. Without warning, she grabbed his hands and spun him around with her, laughing, and before he knew it, he was chuckling too. They spun and spun until Zelda's foot slipped on the mud and they fell, her on top of him, a giggly mess. She stopped and stared, opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. He didn't know it, but he was smiling, and she lightly kissed his nose. He blinked once, then twice, and then chuckled. You never smiled, she said. And you were, never this bold, he offered, hoping his assumption was true. She pulled herself off of her hero and stood, offering her hand. He took it and rose to stand beside her. People change, she mimicked. He rolled his eyes and sighed, his eyes traveling up the path in front of the stable to the sky. We should leave, he said, before it rains harder. You were always very serious, always focused on the goal at hand. She walked under the awning of the stable and slipped on her sandals. It was rare for you to pause and just think. I suppose not everyone changes. He scratched his head, unsure how to respond. You weren't any different, he finally said. She stopped in the middle of lacing up a sandal and her shoulders dropped. How do you know me so well? She asked with a little smirk, but behind the facade of playfulness was guilt. She exhaled, then inquired, Is it even safe to travel in the rain? She didn't want to admit it, but she'd forgotten many things, too. The taste of certain foods and the feeling of the air and what it was like to be hot or cold. She forgot how it felt to see people, talk to them, to be loved and to love. In her bubble of malice there was only nothing. It's fine, he replied shortly. You can wear my hood and we should get to Hateno by night. You're going to get positively soaked, though, she argued. You should wear your hood. I'm fine without. I don't need it. Yes, you do. You could fall ill. I won't. It's dangerous. Princess, he said firmly, his voice loud and clear over the rain. Her mouth dropped and a fist settled over her heart. Please, just wear the hood. I'm not... Fine, I'll wear it. Under her breath she muttered the title over and over again. Some princess she was, letting her kingdom succumb to ruin and decay. Thank you, Link sighed, his tone lighter and less angry. I'll get our horse. Of course. She watched him walk away to the stable counter, and she wondered to herself if she was still really Hyrule's princess. Her hands were clasped around his waist as the pair rode through Ash Swamp, her hero expertly directing the horse through puddles and around decayed guardians. Her heart twisted and sped more than once in that fateful place, but Link seemed unfazed, and she wondered why. He died there, so why was he not more afraid of it? She tightened her grip on him and buried her face into his back, and one of his hands came to gingerly rest atop hers. Seeing the guardians broken and rusty and dead made her angry not because they killed her beloved and her kingdom, but because she was too foolish to foresee them turning sides. In her bubble of malice for 100 years she mulled over what could have been done differently. She couldn't understand how they didn't predict something so simple, and it was because of their lack of preparation that she saw her years of research and millennia of technology gone to waste, lost to nothing but a demonic bore. Link, on the other hand, saw them as nothing but enemies. They were treacherous robots roaming the land of Hyrule, seeking their next target to kill as they were programmed to, and then going back to aimlessly scuttering around. There was a memory somewhere in his mind, he knew, where Princess Zelda admired one from afar as Ashika tested its functions, but it was too fuzzy for him to comprehend. Are you all right? He asked after they exited the swamp and trotted through Fort Hateno. She propped her chin on his shoulder. Doesn't it hurt? What? Traveling. Adventuring through all these places you know, but not really, because a part of you has forgotten them, but a part of you remembers, and you don't know how to perceive your new observations in combination with your old ones. He scoffed in awe of how well she could read him, but it scared him as well. It was only a matter of time before her mind figured out that he was lying to her. It does, he answered. I know you don't remember everything, she muttered, but you do remember me, yes? I do. She said nothing and only hummed. Zelda rested her cheek against his back and took a deep breath, overwhelming her senses with pine and rain and grass and forest, things she hardly remembered. She was lucky that the rain masked her tears. That night, when they arrived in Hateno village, Link had to hoist his princess off the saddle of the horse and carry her inside. He nudged the door open with his foot and shuffled in, kicking it closed behind him. Readjusting her sleeping form in his arms, he climbed the stairs to the loft effortlessly and gently set her down on the bed. He pulled the thin covers over her and knelt beside her. He stared. She was so beautiful, he thought, as he brushed a stray golden strand behind her ear. Her lips were a soft pink, her eyelashes dark and thick, and her cheeks were rosy, even in the cool moonlight. It spilled through the window and illuminated her in a different way than the sun had just a few days before. Princess Zelda was so serene and ethereal, and he didn't know what to do. Her eyes fluttered open, and she smirked when she saw his face. "What are you doing, Link?" she asked coyly, notes of sleepiness in her voice. He chuckled and scratched the back of his head. "Nothing. Going to bed?" He went to stand, but she tugged on the sleeve of his shirt. "No," she whispered. "With me." He looked down at her hand and then back at her face as she rolled over with a yawn. "Okay." He climbed in beside her and she grabbed his hands, directing them to wrap around her waist. Her free hand then traveled up to bury itself in his dirty brown locks, and she sunk into him. "Good night," she murmured. Good night." It felt wrong to sleep in such an intimate position with someone he didn't know.
I don't know if you can hear my applause, but I'm applauding.
Oh, thank you.
I am also
Yes.
applauding because
Yes.
dang, that was really good.
You're such a good reader. Oh my
That
gosh,
was
I was just like,
really
wow.
Thank you.
Have you done this before? This was really good. Okay.
No.
Oh. Well, you're a natural.
Well, yeah, no kidding.
Thank you.
I guess so. Now we're going to do a Q&A about the entire one shot. So not just that excerpt, but the entire work, which is a little bit over 8,000 words. So, and also like when I was reading it, like it all honestly flies by. Like
Yeah,
it does not read like 8,000 words. It's just kind of like, oh, it's so good. The pacing is everything's so good. So my first question is, do you find yourself having an easier time with dialogue or descriptions? You do so well with both, but writers tend to have a preference.
I think I find dialogue easier because this probably sounds silly, but like I did theater in middle school, so like I kind of have some experience, even if it's only at like the middle school level with like acting. So when I write, I'm kind of acting out the dialogue in my head, so it just comes easier than writing descriptions.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's
That makes sense.
I think a lot of I think the best part of writing, honestly, is just taking like what experiences you had in the past, whether it's like theater or like improv or whatever, and like I can really tell that you put it into your work because the dialogue for your fic or yeah, for your one shot is really like it's both really it's paced really well, and it also characterizes Link and Zelda well, like especially Link's guilt, which kind of leads me into my question. Sorry that I'm rambling here, but you're setting you throughout the one shot, you're basically setting up Link's guilt of how he doesn't truly remember Zelda like as like he wants to be able to. So I was just wondering what how do I say this? I have to. So what do you think oh, how do you take the theme of Breath of the Wild and make that like your own? Like there's the theme of memories obviously in Breath of the Wild, but how did you turn that into like this guilt that Link has in your fic?
Well, I kind of noticed like a lot of people talk about in Breath of the Wild, you know how Link gets all his memories and like he remembers Zelda at the end, and that was like a pretty common thing I would see people write about or like um fics that took place after Breath of the Wild canon. Like Link would have all of his memories. I just kind of wanted to explore like what it would be like if sure he collected his memories, but he didn't like know who the people were in them or they were like blurry and hard to comprehend. I just thought it was more interesting than him just like remembering everything because I don't know. I just think him not remembering is angstier. Yep.
Sure, that's fair.
Always go for the more angstier option. It more words come from that.
I mean, on a meta level, it's like a video game, so like you got all the room to play with there because there's nothing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
how about you? You got some.
that kind of has to do with my next question actually, because I personally get a lot when I open requests. I get a lot of requests for post calamity. Like every single time, it's always like, oh, do the scene after Link rescues Zelda, and it's like, guys, I've done this 7 times, but I guess I'll do a different version.
Every time it keeps getting better, you know?
I know. So I was going to ask, you going into this, how else you felt, if you felt like you had to distinguish it from others, because I feel like that scene in particular, and for Breath of the Wild fan fiction, is one that is done a lot, because that scene in particular left a lot to be desired. Like, she says, "Do you remember me?" And he says nothing, and he stares, and it's like, well, what? So was there something in your mind like, oh, I have to distinguish something in this so that it sets me apart from the others? But you just said that you kind of had the idea in your mind already that you wanted it to be, oh, what if this was he didn't remember much, or he didn't remember basically anything. So I think you already answered my question, but is there anything else you want to add to like that expectation, or like the amount of that scene in the fandom?
I didn't really feel like a need to distinguish myself. Like, this was just like my take on the ending, and because Breath of the Wild's ending is so open, you can really do anything you want with it. So I don't really think there's any like wrong way to write it, you know? Like, there's just headcanons that are like more common than others, but I think that goes for pretty much every Zelda game too. Like, all of their endings are usually pretty open-ended. You can really do whatever you want with them.
I think that's why Breath of the Wild 2 is so compelling, because there's so many different ways it can go. We're just like, what?
And then no matter what happens,
just like, what?
But even then, no matter what happens in Breath of the Wild 2, I got my pick. So it's like, I don't care, Breath of the Wild 2. Okay. I know how it is.
You'll make your own.
I mean, I think we all have that to an extent, right?
Yeah.
You know? Like, we don't want to ruin our perfect ending that we have in our head. But speaking of perfect endings, this doesn't really have a perfect ending, right? So I want to talk about the main conflict that this fic sort of builds up into is Link not remembering Zelda, and then basically lying to her that he remembers all of their cherished memories and that sort of thing. So I was wondering, when you like set it up, so like you have a lot of scenes where Zelda and Link are hanging out and making memories, but it's ironic in the sense that Link doesn't remember what all their previous memories are about. So I'm thinking that's probably into your theme at the end, where Zelda says like, oh, I know you don't, spoilers, I guess, but I know you don't remember everything, but we can make new memories together. So I was wondering, like, what was the process for like setting up that theme? Because I think it was really interesting, like how you juxtapose that throughout the entire one shot.
I just thought that in a lot of post Breath of the Wild fics, you know, a lot of emphasis is placed like on his past memories. Like, maybe it was just me, but I didn't see a lot of ones that were like focused on like the present and the now after Breath of the Wild. So I wanted to, you know, start with him. Like, he's so worried about these past memories that he's lying about, but then I just wanted to like emphasize that the memories you make now can be more important than the memories you used to have. So
it's just as important, right? Or like, yeah.
Well, I say can be because, like, you know, sometimes you might have a memory and something bad happens and then you don't like that memory anymore, you know? That's just that's just what I was getting at. So him and Zelda are so concerned about the past, and then they have like that moment where Link finally confesses. And then after that, that's where they start to both realize that the memories they make now are more important.
I really liked that ending. It was, I think I always go for the bittersweet endings, and also those always kind of go for me. And I really liked how you, in particular, structured the last line. You know, how it's just like, okay, what's your favorite color? She's getting to know him again. I think that was really beautiful.
Re-falling in love, as the trope is, I guess.
Yeah. I think that we're leading to the really well. This leads into one of my other questions, where it's the ending and the message about not letting the past hold you down into going for the future, or a phrase much better than that. Was that something that was in mind when you first thought of, like, oh, post-calamity, but he doesn't remember? Was it always post-calamity does he remember, and then they learned to do this? Or was it something that kind of happened as you went along with the dialogue?
It was definitely something that just kind of happened. I don't really control the words control themselves.
Yeah. They're like their own beast sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess arguably that is how you have like our dialogue that flows better. Like if you don't if you plan every single word, it sounds very like blocky and like not natural. So I think you did a really good job of like both characterizing the characters and also having it flow really well.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a good one shot. I really love it. I reread it like 5 times.
Yeah,
last
the
night,
flow
so.
and the pacing. The pacing,
exactly.
The pacing is amazing. I don't know. It's like my favorite work of yours. It's just done so well. I mean, I know you have a lot of works, and that's great. But just like I was just reading it, and I was like, look at her go. Look at her go.
Or like I don't know if I'm allowed to mention this, but I also checked out your other one shot. What is it? It was like Here in the Flowers. So it's like I guess am I allowed to like mention that for like a question about this? In you also have a theme other than the memories of Zelda like not living up to her role as a princess. I saw that in like your other works and also in this one where even in the excerpt that you read, she's like refuting the idea of being a princess. So I was thinking, like, just for the sake of not rambling too much, where do you see Zelda going forward? Like, do you see her maybe reclaiming the role of princess and finding power in it again, or do you more see her character as ditching the role entirely and being her own person, or like something in between? Like, what's your interpretation of that?
I think maybe in the beginning she feels like obligated to like reclaim the throne, but I think like as time goes on, because I mean Hyrule is functioning without the monarchy, and my interpretation is like she would see that, and she would see that Hyrule doesn't need a princess, so then that would like free her to become her own person separate of the title.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I agree. Because basically for her it's been 100 years, but the last time she was in Hyrule, like, she had all these obligations, so she gets back to Hyrule and she feels it again, like she's not completely free because there's still something within her that's like, oh, but I was trained my whole life to be this one thing. Am I allowed to be free of that?
Yeah, she went from like 100 responsibilities to like absolutely nothing. Like so, like I think like that guilt that she feels in the fic where she's like, we haven't done anything. We've just been staying in Hateno village. I could definitely understand that because she's been loaded with like the fate of the world, and then all of a sudden she has free time, and that's like confusing and like so it's like, I mean, especially in today's society, free time. I don't see that. Okay, so I think is it your turn to ask, right? Or my turn? Or your turn?
I don't know. I was gonna comment on that. I'm kind of out of questions, but I'm just like going with the flow.
But yeah, we can just go.
I think also it has to do with her her thinking about the champions. Like, this is the Hyrule that the champions fought and died for, and then her father too. And shouldn't she do something about that? I think she feels guilty over their deaths and what they fought for. And obviously they fought for the kingdom of Hyrule, but is she really upholding what they fought for? She's struggling with a lot of that. And
this isn't the same Hyrule that they lived in, so now what exactly are they going for? Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, as far as a new question, let's see. I went over a lot of my questions, and some of them have been asked already. You do really well with everything. I mean, the imagery, the pacing, the dialogue. I was actually I wish I could do this. I wish I could write like this, but I'm not allowed to say that because pastels will hurt me. That's a joke.
Is it though? Is it really?
Is it though? Is it though?
This is a joke. I think I really appreciated how, I mean, at first Zelda was of course angry with Link because he lied, but I think I appreciated how she didn't hold on to it for too long. You know, she really tried to understand, and she came around to to thinking like, okay, he really did forget. And I think I appreciated that sense of forgiveness, I guess. I think I wanted to ask right now, like, is there anything in your life specifically that inspired either that level of forgiveness or something? Is it something that you wish to impart onto the world? Like, where did that come from?
I don't know where that came from, to be honest, but I can say I wish I was as forgiving as her.
Yeah.
So Zelda's got a big. And also, I guess on that topic, that conflict that you set up is, I think it's a really good conflict because it's not like black and white. Because if Link had started off saying, "No, I don't remember you," she would have been totally like broken, especially in that vulnerable moment when they just, I think you mentioned it there, like, I didn't want to hurt you because you would have broken down. And then she was like, yeah, I definitely would have. So I think it's good that, well, not good, but like, I think it's a really good conflict for like the pacing of the plot because there is no, like, if you were in that situation, there is no like morally right thing to do in that situation. Either you hurt them devastatingly in the most vulnerable moment of their life, or you slowly do it later as you betray their trust. So it's like, it's a good conflict. I don't know. I'm just guessing over it. It's a good conflict.
No, I agree. Like, I think the best conflicts are the ones where there is really no right where the audience sits down and thinks like, oh, well, I don't know,
And having good, and having good conflict serves good because like Link, at least in my opinion, Link is a really hard character to write for because his most defining characteristic basically is like his trauma and the stuff that he went through. So this was like over the course of the one shot, this conflict, this internal conflict shows like both of his good strengths and good characteristics and also like his flaws of like wanting to be the hero and be perfect for the people that he's forgotten about. So I just really love that. It's a really good one shot,
Yeah.
Very good. I guess let's just go like more simplistic here. Who do you prefer writing for? At least in this scenario of Link and Zelda. Who's your favorite? And why?
That's a good question. Probably Link? Question mark, maybe? Oh, whoop.
Do you say that because they're both evenly matched?
Yeah, probably. I just maybe Link a little more because I feel like this might be unpopular, but I feel like there's not a wrong way to write Link simply because like he's silent.
He
so
can
I
be
think
anyone.
a lot of his like reactions and things are open to interpretation.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I mean that's the point of Link, I guess, as the protagonist, that you can interpret him however you want. You can be Link.
Yeah, that's definitely what the original creators of the series was intending. He's a literal. I hate puns, but he's named Link for his ability to link the player to the game, and also to a link to between the people in the game, like, you know, bring people together. And in multiple interviews, the developers will talk about how Link is a silent protagonist, is a kind of blank protagonist in cutscenes, so that we can impart our own emotions and motivations. And while that's changed in these recent years with Skyward Sword and on with seeing more of his emotions, I feel like there's still that kind of thing with writing at this moment, where Link is a character that's very up to interpretation. I think that's what makes writing for Legend of Zelda something to play with, and I think that's fun.
Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't want to say it's bad writing, but like the lack of writing for length and interpretation is good motivation for us fanfic writers, you know, because we can just do whatever we want.
Yeah.
No one can tell us it's wrong. No one can tell us it's not canon because there's nothing there.
I mean, if he swings around a sword, I mean, yeah, there's stuff in canon, but
I mean, yeah, but
yeah, I get, he wields a sword, and so, I mean, there's courage, and he cares about people, and he gets angry sometimes, and it's much more complicated than I'm making it out to be, and I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's definitely less of something you're tied to than a character like Zelda or Bosa,
you
know, who,
and you know, what is it? Bella, so like you were saying Link, but you were like kind of struggling there. So I'm assuming you also really like writing for Zelda in this too. Can you tell us like what you like writing about her?
I feel like her struggle, like it's relatable, you know, like you have people who have all these expectations on you and you can't live up to them, and that's basically her entire conflict almost. So she's relatable and she's fun to write.
Yeah, I totally get that. I just project all anxiety. What can I say? I project everything onto, like, you got perfectionism, you got anxiety. I mean, if you really want to push it, you can talk about her dad, which is another.
Don't get me started on her dad.
Yeah, let's not. This is not the bashing room that podcast, but he's certainly there. Yeah.
maybe at a later date.
Another time. We'll save that for another time. When Fic covers that.
Her relationship with her dad is very complicated. That's all we'll say for now. Yeah.
How about in your interpretation of Zelda, she talked about she wants to keep the memories of her champions and friends alive. Like, she tells them to Link so that he can carry them on. But do you think she would, in your interpretation, also do that for her father with Link? Like, would she talk about her father with Link in your thing?
Does about the champions. Like, she talks about the champions very affectionately. I feel like if she were to start talking about her father, it would kind of open up to a more vulnerable place. It would be less storytelling and more venting, I suppose.
That makes sense. I mean, I guess there's someone else to vent to.
She sees him as less of a friend and more of a someone that she's had problems. You know, like with Urbosa and Rivali and Daruk and Mipha, like they were all her friends. You know, she'd spend a lot of time with them, but with the king, it's a bit of a different relationship where she can't really look on it fondly because it wasn't always the best relationship, even though he had the best intentions. Now I'm going into the relationship with the Dwarf. But yeah, I think I get that difference that you're talking about, Bella, where it puts her in a more vulnerable place where she would, the memories maybe wouldn't be so fond and so precious when she's talking about them. No, you know. But I think eventually she could get to that place because she trusts Link, especially in your interpretation.
Yeah,
I think, you know, because she's so forgiving to Link, I think she would eventually forgive her father at some point.
Yeah, because that's just kind of like especially how you wrote her. She's very like open-hearted and empathetic, and I like that about.
Yeah.
Let's see. What other stuff is in my giant Google Docs? Okay, so every writer has like that, like there's like details or sentences where it's like, oh, if someone pays attention, they'll catch like this little bit of foreshadowing, or it's like, oh, I'm really proud of this line. So is there anything like really any like specific details in your fic that you wrote that you're like proud of, or like little secrets or anything in there?
All right. I based this entire fic around one scene that I like made up while I was at my job. It's I
And
don't
what
know if
else are
like
you gonna do during your job?
yeah.
I mean, yeah, your job? No way.
I don't know if I can like read it because it's in that like kind of NSFW scene.
Well,
I mean, you could just say that's what the scene was, you know.
Yeah, you can just give like the family-friendly gist of it, I guess.
Okay, yeah, they're getting frisky, and then Link, spoilers, Link blurts out, "I don't know you."
Mm-hmm.
Because of all the so this is a case of I'm writing this entire one shot to get to this one specific scene in my head. Basically,
Yes.
yeah, I get that. I totally get that.
That's how I do almost all of my writing.
Same.
Yeah.
And I think you really did the pacing well for that scene, because it's both expected and also like unexpected at like just like the bluntness of him revealing that. So I think that was pretty good.
Well, because up until then, you have the audience waiting for him to blurt that out. You know, it's every line that he doesn't. It's just like you're gonna make it worse the longer you wait. You know, it's one of those situations.
Exactly. And it's during like one of their most intimate and vulnerable moments too. So it's like not good.
It's like I think there's a level of barriers that was broken down when they got to that vulnerable place. Like Zelda, they're letting each other in, and they're getting to this place of intimacy, and Link can't really go through with it because of this lie, but then she feels brokenhearted because she did let him in like that, you know.
Yeah.
So it was like the best place, but the worst place, but it was done really well.
Best worst place.
Like when I say worst place, I don't mean like worst place writing wise. I meant like Link, you really got yourself into another one this time. You know?
Again, it's a really good internal conflict. I love this.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Who wants to speak next?
Do you have any more questions?
I mean, I can make something up on the fly.
Oh, okay. Because then I'm gonna go to this Tumblr submitted question.
Oh yeah, let's go to that.
This was just we answer one Tumblr submitted question every week, and it's just kind of a general writing question or a general fanfic writing question. I'm just going to read what was sent. I have a question for the writers, and obviously I wish to remain anonymous as I am deeply embarrassed for asking. Of course, I understand if ultimately you decide to not ask this question. The question is to all those who write smut or flat out porn. Does it bother you thinking that someone could use your writing as self-love inspirational material, or even inspiration for lovemaking with a real life partner? And basically, my answer to this is that that's probably the best thing you could get from smut, is like seeing characters being loved and knowing that you also deserve to be loved. And I personally am not the biggest fan of smut because I have no experience, but I can't believe I said that on the podcast.
Same fan.
But I think that this whole deriving self-love from it and deriving love with a real life partner from it is really beautiful. I think that's the best thing that can come from it. What do you guys think?
I mean, I got no opinions on this. I got no experience.
The one question that was submitted, so.
Oh, well, lots of options. I mean, yeah, good Good for you, smut writer. I don't read it. I don't read it. I'm sorry. I don't
write it. I mean, I've written
I'm
some things
asexual.
Like, yeah.
I'm maybe aromantic. I don't know. How about
Belle,
you, treasured guest?
Yeah.
Who has written probably more than me?
More, yeah.
I don't.
More experience at the very least.
I don't have anything to add because.
Oh, you make me seem dumb.
Yeah.
I'm not, you know.
Well, no, now you're the most. You've got the most compelling answer out of all of us.
Because I read the question before and I'm like, oh, I gotta find an answer to this. But yeah, I thank you for submitting that question, whoever did. I think it's wonderful that you enjoy that. I have very little experience, and so do these two. But
I mean, in the hypothetical scenario in which I would write that, I think the reason that I don't write it is because I don't want people to think about that stuff. But I'm pretty sure the vast majority of writers who write it would love for people to to like engage with it in that personal way. Like, I mean, if you think, like, taking out like the smut stuff, if you read something and you are using that and like thinking about it in like your real life, that's like an accomplishment because you wrote it well enough that someone is engaging with it personally, they're enjoying it even when they're not reading it physically in front of them. So, like, good job to you, people who do that, you know.
And I feel like there's kind of a thing around fan fiction and the audience where they feel like they're hesitant to like, or they're hesitant to comment, or they're hesitant to say that they were really responded to it in an emotional way. And I think that we love to hear that. That's our goal. That,
yes.
Like, in any fic, just in comment, any, like, please.
Yeah, smut, or even just like what we do, where it's emotions. Like if we made you cry, if we made you love the world, it applies to all sort of things. It's an amazing thing, and we love to hear that. Like we don't ever think you're annoying. We actually think like, oh my gosh, they read my work, they like me, I'm liked.
Yeah.
What? So to answer that question in the broadest way, like, it doesn't bother me thinking that my writing is a receptacle for any sort of emotion, because I think that apathy, which is the absence of emotion, is kind of a bad thing for this world, and it's plugging this world in a way that we need to combat. So instilling empathy, whether that's joy or sadness, and making people feel things is really powerful. And so I don't think you should be embarrassed at all. So yeah. I can talk, guys. Did I just bore you guys? You guys are really quiet. I think I put them to sleep.
I'm not bored.
Okay, I think I put them to sleep.
Oh, okay. Wait, I can hear you now. Okay.
Oh, okay. Hopefully that was caught. Okay.
I heard it.
So I couldn't hear anyone for like 30 seconds, but we're fine. Okay.
That's okay. I was rambling because I was nervous. That's what I do.
Okay.
We're kind of at the end. I would like to first say thank you to Bella, our guest, for being so wonderful.
Yeah.
I hope this was like okay. I'm still a little bit nervous, and I hope people actually like this podcast. You can find Bella under the username aurathian. Is that correct?
Yeah.
How you pronounce it? Aurathian. Yeah. I never say things out loud because it's always like red. But aurathian, she's on Tumblr and AO3, and those links and other links, other places. So all those links will be down in the bio if you're watching this on YouTube. I also would like to plug something else that will be in the links, which is our sister podcast called Interviewing Is My Right, and that talks about original works instead of fan fiction works. I think they have an episode coming soon, or like an intro up, but that link will be in the bio. This actually went really well. I'm still very nervous. Please let us know how you liked this. If you don't like me, that's cool.
Ow. If you don't like her, then we kick you. We
Oh,
we need
whoops,
to have a
bring out
chat.
your
We love you
steel
all.
chair.
We love you
no,
all.
we
No,
if you don't love Faye, then we don't love you. That's the rules.
Okay,
So
that's not that's
no,
she's lying.
that's
They're
the
lying.
rules. That's
Pronouns.
the rules.
Okay,
I will be in the comment section looking for people that say so, and I will kick you.
Thank you for joining us. This podcast is called Behind the Fic. This is the legendary chapter, which means that the first season will be all Legend of Zelda themed fics, which is really cool. Other seasons will be other fandoms, which is interesting, and we'll see how that goes. If people don't like this, then I'm gonna keep doing it.
Hell yeah.
Because I've already got it all planned out. We've got a lot of cool guests. Almost as cool as Bella.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I love Bella. And yeah, anything else you guys like to say before we end it off?
Follow all of us.
No. Follow Sarcastic Mudkip and follow Aurathian, and then you can just put your phone down. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
Like and subscribe, as they say.
Oh my gosh.
Fellow kids.
Smash that like button.
Hit that bell icon and like and subscribe.
If you like this video, okay. Bye.
Toodaloo.